Good evening. I call to order this regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission. It's Thursday, July the 1st, 2021, 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted here in the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. We'll open with a prayer by Commissioner Allen, and then I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this day to come before you and that's our community and do what would be best for the citizens of our city that have put their trust in us. May we give us wisdom and understanding of those things that come before us, and bless the people in this city as we deal with this virus. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everyone, and thank you for silencing your phones. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment section, which is at the end of all of our items, or during discussion, speak during discussion on an agenda item, you'll need to complete a speaker card and submit that to staff. All public comments are kept to a maximum of 3 minutes with a one-time visit to the podium, and no loud outbursts will be allowed. We'll move right on to the consent agenda for the June 3rd, 2021 regular meeting, June 22nd, 2021 special meeting, and the attorney's invoices for May.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Millender. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, we are moving on to Commissioner's report. Commissioner Brown, do you have a report for us this evening?
I just wanted to remind everyone about the golf cart, bike, and scooter parade tomorrow. That will be before the fireworks. We'll start lining up at 5 p.m. at George Sands Park, and the parade will be from 6 to 7. If you need the map for it, I can definitely email that to you, or you can check my Commissioner Facebook page. And just a reminder, this is not a city-sponsored event.
It's a Commissioner Sabrina Brown sponsored event.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, I hope it goes well for you.
I do too, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Allen, do you have anything for us?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Millender?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, first of all, keep our Commissioner Frank Mathis in your thoughts and prayers. He fell down and broke his hip, and I'm understanding that he was to return home today from the hospital, and so we're all glad about that. And we'll look forward to him being back on the dais with us soon. I attended an emergency management fuel strategy meeting on June the 9th, where it was strongly suggested that both cities have their own fuel tanks to assure a fuel supply post a disaster. The recommendation for us was above ground storage tanks under 550 gallons because they don't have to be registered by the DEP and inspected by the health department regularly. And those tanks needed to have a pump and equipment system, meter system, be ready for fuel deliveries for an impending disaster. On June 22nd, then, the Commission held a special meeting to develop a CARES Act grant allocations budget where we considered equipment that's needed by all city departments, including the fuel storage tanks. And funds were allocated to purchase 3 storage tanks. This week we learned, though, that in disaster preparation already the Water and Sewer Department has recently agreed with a local fuel supply company who has already brought in 2 500-gallon tanks with the pump and meter equipment and brought that free on site with the agreement that this company will deliver bulk fuel would be purchased from this company in the event that we have a disaster coming in. So this kind of would operate similar to how our propane tanks operate, propane companies operate with their tanks. So this is the Water and Sewer Department, and we talked with Charlie, and he's going to contact this fuel distribution company and see if he can get one more tank delivered out to the King Cope area. And then that will leave CARES Act funds that were allocated for these tanks available for reallocation. Mr. Painter suggested that we certainly could use towable light towers, so Courtney is looking into that for something that could be used at night during power outages, emergencies, and events. And so last month we approved revisions to the city's accounting manual as requested by the DEO auditor. Courtney forwarded all these revisions along with a written statement from the city's auditor regarding the city's health insurance premium reimbursement arrangement and a spreadsheet of the recent citywide asset inventory to the DEO. The DEO auditors were satisfied with the progress the city has made to correct the financial statements. The findings that have been on the financial statements. On June the 4th, we celebrated Carrabelle Chief Gary Hunning's retirement after joining the Carrabelle Police Department in 2012. Chief Hunnings began his law enforcement in 2000 in Apalachicola with the Apalachicola Police Department. Now, after 21 years of public service, he's moved on to a more relaxing career, and I would like to thank Chief Hunnings for his service to our city and our surrounding community, and I want to officially welcome, although he's not here, our recently promoted Chief Kevin Schuman aboard to the city of Carrabelle as our chief. And then, as we all know, Apalachicola Mayor Kevin Bagos suddenly passed away in June after serving his beloved city for only 1.5 years. And during that time, he was a dedicated and fierce advocate for Apalachicola, and he worked tirelessly to make improvements in all city departments. And we send our deepest sympathy to his family and to the city of Apalachicola. And please let me wish everyone a happy 4th of July weekend. Remind everyone of the city-sponsored fireworks display tomorrow night, Friday night at dark 30. They'll be shot off from the Marine Street boat ramp. The fireworks can be enjoyed from most anywhere in Carrabelle, especially along the river. And I want to thank Ms. Keisha for assembling quotes for us to have these fireworks and for scheduling the fireworks. So we appreciate that, and we'll move on to next year and see how that works out.
Maybe we won't have no rain.
Yeah, we're worried about rain, but it will come through and we'll have our fireworks. So thank you very much. Happy 4th of July. We'll move on to the city attorney's report.
All right, I just have 2 quick items. The first is just an update on the CRA certified letters. Courtney has done a great job sending all those out with Keisha to the various county officials, and we have not heard anything back yet. So, and not that we expect to, but those have gone out. And then one other thing that we've looked at is, and it sort of relates to the social media policy that comes up later, but I wanted to ask this of the commission to see if you'd like staff to work on this, is that we had the Krisner Group do a number of recommendations in a variety of areas to kind of update and amend the personnel policy. And, we paid them for their services. There's a lot of good suggestions in there. And if the commission would like, staff can go ahead and do a red line version of the personnel policy to update the personnel policy, get that to the different commissioners for input. If you have any input after reviewing the report itself to help us make those revisions, that's fine too. But we just basically get you that either the next meeting or the following meeting, and then we can kind of work through those amendments, or you all can approve them if it looks like we did a good job of implementing that report into the personnel policy. But we just obviously don't want to go working on that if that's not what the commission wants.
Right, and that law audit report by that firm, they included 9 subject matters. About half of them, maybe less than that, maybe a third of them are addressed in our personnel policy, but briefly, or just very one sentence brief mention, or just mentioned in a sentence. And some of them, many of them, are not mentioned at all. So, and for instance, they mentioned paid time off. and it refers to 216 hours annually. Well, we can't just copy all of these items verbatim. We would need to make sure that they fit our guidelines and our policies that we have in place now. For instance, earned vacation, earned sick time, that type of thing. But we did pay for it. I've read through these items, the suggestions from prisoner group yesterday and today. I think they're good, but we do need to modify them if the commission wants to move forward, but modify them slightly to make them fit our policies that we have in place.
And I think staff is in the best position to do that with, Miranda, Keisha, Courtney to keep me straight. I can handle I'll handle the legal side of it, but just as you say, there's some characteristics specific to the city that staff will be familiar with. So
They
we can
know
get all
the
that
answers
edited.
better than we do.
Exactly.
But then the social media policy is also included in there, but we're addressing the social media policy this evening. And I'm just gonna ask Commissioner Brown, because this is pretty much her item. But have you read the prisoner group's social media policy? Okay, all right.
No, I sent it to you. It was a
Yes, and I
two-page.
did read through that, and I used some of it. I read about 50 different city social media policies at least, and found ones that were applicable for us in a small city, and, made sure it covered the Florida sunshine laws and things like that.
So, and this is really everything but that, right? Because we're dealing with social media tonight.
Yes, so we'll discuss that then more in depth. So,
But it will still need to be updated in the policy.
Yep. Once, if we take action on the social media policy tonight, that will change the personnel policy, and then we might as well,
Update
even a little bit
everything
behind,
else.
update, just kind of get
yeah,
everything.
do all of
moved
this
up.
at the same time, if the commission wants to move forward with it.
What I'll
Okay.
do is I'll resend out that report because it's been over a year ago. So, and I don't know that Sabrina ever got it, but I'll resend it so that everybody has it and you can all review it and give
Okay.
input on it.
And then Mr. Hartman said it's in PDF. He said he would convert it to
And
Word,
circulate it,
so
yeah.
we could, underline, strike through, okay. All right, then. May we have a motion then to direct staff to begin work on incorporating the prisoner's law audit report into our personnel policy?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have that by Commissioner Allen.
I'll
And-
second.
Okay, and second by Commissioner Brown. And did you get that? Okay. Ms. Keisha, and to incorporate the, direct staff to begin work on incorporating the prisoner's law audit report into our personnel policy, the city's personnel policy. And believe it or not, Commissioner Frank Mathis is calling me right now on the phone. So,
Hey, Frank.
yeah.
And this is bad. I talked to him yesterday. He sounded great. I had told him he was concerned. He wanted to make sure he could, I said, while he said he's gonna have to go to rehab. I'm speaking for him here, but, and I said, that's no problem, meaning if you're over there doing rehab, you will be able to attend meetings because it's a medical absence and he can attend electronically. And actually, I'm thinking, I didn't even think that he'd be in condition to attend tonight's. So I didn't really,
I
he
don't
might be
know. He may
calling
have
for that
just-
reason.
He may
But
be
he
may-
watching us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's
But-
tougher than I ever imagined if he wants to attend tonight.
All right, so we have that motion by Commissioner Allen, second by Commissioner Brown. Any discussion, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, then that motion carries. Okay, do y'all have questions for Dan Hartman, our attorney? All right, then, Ms. Courtney?
On Monday, after the agenda had already been circulated, we got an email from the Emergency Management Office over in Apalachicola. And they're asking that the cities, the county, the school board, all the districts inside the county, they need us to sign a mutual aid agreement so that we're covered during a disaster. And they sent us a mutual aid agreement, and part of that agreement, there was a resolution in there. So I'm asking that we approve this resolution for a state mutual aid agreement for disaster, for resources during a disaster. And I think Dan,
Yes, I can read the resolution quickly if we want to do that now, or
Okay, that would be
if
fine.
you want to do, let's do it under the public hearing when we go next. We'll do the resolution right under the other resolution.
Okay, all right. If you'll remind me.
I will.
Okay.
And I guess that would be 08/2021.
2020-08.
08/2021. And then I just want to remind
Okay.
everybody that because we are doing the fireworks tomorrow, that the Marine Street boat ramp will be closed all day because I can't have people parking in there and then they're not gone because they can't be there when he's shooting off the fireworks. So tomorrow it will be closed all day, but we'll open back up Saturday morning. That's all I have.
Okay, does anyone have questions for Ms. Courtney? All right, then we'll move on to the city clerk, Ms. Keisha.
I have, closer here. I usually announce the fireworks, but it's been announced several times. That will be tomorrow at dark 30 along the river here. Dark 30 is about 30 minutes after dark, for those who don't know what dark 30 means. I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
I also have here a certificate of completion for Commissioner Brown. She attended the IEMO, the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials, May 7th and 9th. And I have a letter here from the Florida League of City Universities. And it says, City Commissioner Sabrina Brown, on behalf of the Florida League of Cities, I am pleased to award this certificate to you for the completion of the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials in Tampa on May 7th through 9th, 2021. It is our sincere hope that you found the program challenging and worthwhile. We encourage you to take advantage of other training opportunities through Florida League of Cities University. We also invite you to register for the next offering of IEMO 2 when registration opens. You can find dates and locations for other trainings on our event calendar. We strongly believe that your attendance at the institution is indicative of your continued commitment to improving the quality of municipal government in Florida. If we may be of assistance in the future, please do not hesitate to call upon us. Sincerely, Lynn Tipton, Director. So, we encourage all our commissioners to go to the training. We all go to training. You learn a lot. You get to network with other. It really is very informative. So we want to give this to her.
All
thank
right,
you.
and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have.
Okay, do you know, will you all be having a planning and zoning meeting this month? Do
I
you know
don't.
yet?
I don't have
Haven't-
anything else
okay.
now.
Nothing now, okay. All right, does anyone have questions? Yes.
Keisha, the Florida League of Cities conference that I was asking about was the one in August that they offered the
Oh,
scholarship
yes,
for?
yes. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding
No-
me. I sent out the letter to everybody, and Commissioner Brown is interested in applying for a scholarship. Y'all all should have got that, but y'all have to nominate. Only one of you can go. So she's interested if someone would like to nominate her and make a motion, because we would have to send them a letter.
You're interested in going? Okay, I will nominate Commissioner Brown to apply for that scholarship.
Second.
And that's a motion made by Mayor LaPaz, second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
And that is to apply for a scholarship, which would pay for everything for her to go.
Thank you.
Okay, well, good luck. And that motion carried, and that's
Keisha,
LaPaz and
you write
Allen.
a letter, and then I also write a letter,
Yes.
and we send them together?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
It'll probably come from Courtney, though.
okay.
All right. Anything else then for Ms. Keisha? Okay, we'll move forward to Russell Large with the report from Innovia Consulting.
Thank you. On our FDOT SCOP project, 5th and Avenue D road paving, All those approvals are in place with the department, and we're in the design phase now. This additional area is on 9th Street from just south of Avenue D up to US 98. The completion date for that work is October 30 of this year.
30th?
Yes. And then on our new SCOP application, funding application, we're still monitoring that. It should come out in September. On our lighthouse project, we're coordinating with DEP and the Water Management District for letting. We have a few changes to the specs that we're working through, and right now it looks like we'll need a special meeting in August for the contract award. As I nail down that date, I'll make sure that I'll let Courtney know when that date would be.
Russell, did we get our permitting on that?
Yes, we got our comments back from DEP, and so we're coordinating to get that one approved.
Would it help if we send a letter? Would that speed things up? Or?
I'll let you know. I don't think so at the moment.
I was thinking when a letter comes from the elected official and the mayor, then, a lot of times they drop everything and,
That's true.
okay, if
That's
that's
true.
necessary.
I'll let you know
I will,
if it gets to that point. I'll let you know.
okay.
Then on Marine Street, we're expecting the award on that any day now. On Ryan Drive, those plans were completed and submitted to Franklin County, and talked with Mark Curenton today. He says that'll be presented to the board on Tuesday. And I'm not sure what the dollar figure is on that, but they're presenting that Tuesday. Other items that are not on your list, there is an infiltration and inflow grant project. That's to mitigate infiltration and inflow into the gravity sewer system. That's basically the second round of Hurricane Michael money, and that is granted through the CDBG and DEO. There's several areas in the city, and Charlie and Courtney are putting together some maps, and we'll pass that on to Fred Fox, who will make that application.
Okay.
Okay. And then lastly, the pothole at Tallahassee Street. We did check in with Franklin County, and they're coordinating with DOT, and it sounds like that's going to happen.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Any
Does
questions?
anyone have questions for Mr. Large?
Do we know when we might start construction on the 9th Street?
Completion date of October 30.
Right.
Well, I knew that was the completion, but I didn't know
Yeah.
when if we had a
There's lot
start
down
date.
Between now and then,
The contractor's been asking us, the reason I'm asking.
I see. I think it's going to be towards the first week of August, in that time frame. We need to complete the design, and then DOT has to go through their review process of the plans before we can execute a change order for the contractor.
Okay.
Okay.
Russell, I think you answered the question on Ryan Drive. You don't have an idea of the cost after the work was completed, the engineering work was completed?
I do have an idea of that,
Okay.
and I did provide an estimate to Courtney, and along with that estimate, I also said that pricing right now is pretty volatile based on material costs, but based on the historical cost, I think the price will come in cheaper than what we had originally contemplated with them. But again, the way pricing is at this point, I think we just need to have some cautious optimism about that.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
But compared to the price I saw, and compared to what the Roberts submitted, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they're going to, come out with something that's going to blow us out of the water or anything.
Right.
So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Oh, and Mr. Russell, let me thank you very much for your pro bono work on the design and plans for the Ryan Drive culvert area. We
Absolutely.
all appreciate that.
Certainly, thank you.
And during our allocation for the CARES Act grant monies that we had, we set aside some money to start working on the new cemetery land. And for Mark Payne, I'll just say that the school board donated the city 5 acres to expand our cemetery, which was sorely needed. So we're getting close there. And so we have that money, some money allocated for development, and we have talked about that would have to be done in phases. I think we've talked about that here, but we may need to have to look when we start laying it out into services of a landscape architect. You know, we may have to.
Okay.
Of course, that would come
Okay.
before the commission, but you know, if you really want to plan it right, which we have the opportunity to do, I think we should.
Okay.
And then I wanted to ask Ms. Keisha while we're on that topic. We have some, and Mr. Payne is here, he could also help this question. In our budget this year, we have some funds earmarked or set aside for the cemetery reserve. And it's just a few $1,000s remaining, but a few $1,000s can go a long way with some other few $1,000s. So can we earmark that money to roll that over into next year? And okay. All right, and if you'll just tell us sometime how we can do that. And
I think the
Put that-
simplest way, and Mark, it would be to put it in our balance forward.
That's part of your balance forward.
Yes,
number, yeah, that's
uh-huh.
exactly right.
So, and then
Okay.
it would roll over, and then you just pull it back
You
out
pull it
again.
back out, that's right.
all right, and then
The simplest way to put it.
so say there's more than 5, I can't remember, but just say there's $5,000 in there, and then we want to put another 10 like we have, so then we could end up with 15 in it next
Uh-huh.
year. Okay, all right, okay. Very good, thank you both, and thank you, Mr. Russell, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the advisory board reports, and Carrabelle Waterfront Partnership, Ms. Tamara has submitted her report, and then the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board submitted those reports. And are there any questions or comments regarding those written reports? I just wanted to congratulate Ms. Tamara and the Carrabelle History Museum. They were awarded a $15,000 Heritage Education Grant on the shipwrecks of Dog Island, and that's from the Division of Historic Resources, and so congratulations on that. And then the Aviation Advisory Board chairman went to the District 3, with District 3 to the Continuing Florida Aviation Systems Planning Process, where District 3 had stressed the importance of beginning our projects quickly, our FDOT-funded projects, get those done quickly, begin that quickly so that they can be finished in a reasonable time, and all inspections can be done and closeouts can be done well ahead of time. So if there's any issues, it's the project's able to be closed out with the DOT, you know, as the deadline approaches. And if these reports are available for public from the city clerk's office. Okay, and then we will move on to our public hearing where we have 2 resolutions.
All right, the first is City Carrabelle Resolution 07-2021, and it's a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a derelict vessel removal grant application with the Florida Department of Florida Fish and Wildlife to remove 2 derelict vessels from the Carrabelle River, whereas the city of Carrabelle needs grant funding to remove 2 derelict vessels from the Carrabelle River, and whereas the Carrabelle City Commission wishes to take advantage of the grant to remove derelict vessels from the Florida Department of Fish and Wildlife. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle, Florida, assembled in regular meeting on July 1st, 2021, that the mayor be, and she is hereby authorized and directed to execute a grant application with the Florida Department of Fish and Wildlife necessary to receive funding from the Florida Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Make a motion to approve resolution 07-2021 as presented by the city attorney.
Okay, very good, thank you. That motion is by Commissioner Millender to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay.
Okay, and we do have, as Courtney had mentioned during her report, an additional resolution, and it'd probably just be appropriate to amend the agenda to add Resolution 08-2021.
All
Just a
right.
motion to do that.
All right. Can we have a motion to amend the agenda to include Resolution 082021?
Motion to approve?
Sorry, motion to amend the agenda to include that resolution, then I'll read it and we'll vote on it.
Motion to amend the
Amend the
agenda
agenda
to
to
include
include
Resolution 082021.
Mhm.
Okay,
That.
all right.
Second.
That's by Commissioner Brown and second by Commissioner Melander. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
All right, and this is a resolution for adoption of a statewide mutual aid agreement. It's resolution number 08-2021, and it's whereas the State of Florida Emergency Management Act, Chapter 252, authorizes the state and its political subdivisions to provide emergency aid and assistance in the event of a disaster or emergency, and whereas the statutes also authorize the state to coordinate the provision of any equipment, services, or facilities owned or organized by the state or its political subdivisions for use in the affected area upon the request of the duly constituted authority of the area. And whereas this resolution authorizes the request, provision, and receipt of interjurisdictional mutual assistance in accordance with the Emergency Management Act, Chapter 252, among political subdivisions within the state. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Carrabelle that in order to maximize the prompt, full, and effective use of resources of all participating governments in the event of an emergency or disaster, we hereby adopt the statewide mutual aid agreement, which is attached hereto and incorporated by reference.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 08-2021 as presented by the attorney.
Okay, thank you. We have that motion by Commissioner Melander. Do we have a second?
Second.
second.
Okay, and that's second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, thank you very much. And then we will move on to our new business now, where we are having item 1 and presentation of the September 30th, 2020 financial statement by Mr. Mark Payne. And he's here with us this evening from James Moore.
Now I can see you.
Now you can
Behind
see
the
me,
post.
that's right. Hope everybody's well. Continue to pray for all those families down in South Florida with that
Oh, my.
condominium mess. That's just unbelievable, isn't it? So sad. So hopefully you have a copy of the audit report. I'm just gonna go over the very highlight 30,000-foot view if I'm sitting in your shoes. These would be the things that I would want to understand and know about. Independent auditor's report, basically it says these financial statements are your responsibility, ours to express an opinion on them, basically what it says. And all the information is fairly presented. So I think the biggest thing to point out for the year ending September 30, 2020 is total assets for the city of Carrabelle, and I'm gonna use rounded numbers, it's just easier to talk that way, $55 million. Total equity position, $47 million. That's really good. Total liabilities of the city, around $8 million. I can't believe how you guys have reduced, with the assistance of Brenda, the debt for the city has come down dramatically. At one time, it was over 30 million, if I recall correctly. So kudos to you doing that. A couple things I want to point out on page 15. We actually ended up the year in the black for the governmental funds, general fund, special revenue fund, $340,000. Good job. In the proprietary funds, your airport, sewer, water, we ended up in the red, 550. Doesn't excite me because you had $2 million of depreciation, right? We all got this pipe in the ground. It's gonna be there. We're just writing it off over time. It's paid for, but we have to basically try to match the useful life of that pipe in the ground with the revenue generated from that. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you was the cash flow statement, and if you looked at it, it's just simply a reconciliation from your operating income or loss to your change in cash. So we ended up in the water sewer airport fund with cash of about $3.3 million at the end of the year. And probably in my mind, the things you should be most proud of is the way you have shrunken the findings for the city. We're just whittling it down every year. And we just got basically the two findings, I'm gonna say, I would say probably 99% of our small towns and cities get these two findings, and it's basically preparation of financial statements. You really don't have a CPA on staff to do that. The other one is just due to the small size of the staff, you have a segregation issue. You just can't do everything you need to do. If you'd have to hire a bunch more people. So just be aware of that one issue. And then the last thing is, as you know, the CRA, the general fund is continually paying that money back to the CRA, and I would expect that finding to go away in short order as well. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was, if you overexpend your budget by $1, you have a 10,550 Auditor General issue. So when you're amending your budget at the end of the year, just, leave a little bit of extra just in case of accruals that's gonna get booked, so you're coming underneath that budget. And then last but not least, we have a lot of receivables sitting on our books. We've set up an allowance for doubtful accounts because we don't think they're collectible, but the receivable is just sitting on the books. So at some point in time, you may want to address writing those receivables off and the corresponding allowance for doubtful account. It'll have no impact on your net income for the year. The last thing was a statement on the auditing standard 114 letter, and basically what this letter, which is outside the audit, is we had no problems with management, had no problems with staff doing the audit. There are estimates in these financial statements, depreciation, that allowance for doubtful account, et cetera, et cetera. And then lastly, attached to the back of the letter is a representation letter signed by management, basically that everything that told us was true. Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
Do we have questions or comments from the commission? Okay, thank you, Mr. Payne. I want
Thank
to
you, Mark.
say that the utilities, the outstanding ancient, I call them ancient utilities that are past due, this is the second year they have appeared on our findings, and this is something that we speak with our water and sewer superintendent most every month when we have our meeting on this, and this is something I want to work on with them to try to develop a system on how we're going to write these off, how we'll choose who's going to be written off, or is it a timeline, or is it a money amount, or whatever. We need to understand that and then go ahead and when they're written off, do we have to approve that as a?
You do have to
okay.
approve it. It has to be approved by the commission.
Okay. And then I just wanted to mention that on page 6 of the, we have two formal documents this year, one for the CRA as required. But on page 6 of the main document, the auditors this year have provided a timeline of our payments that the city has paid back to the CRA fund, and this is impressive. And we've taken away from funds from the city to make this payment, but it was due from the city, so we had to do it. And as Mr. Payne said, we expect it to be paid off next year. And then in here, if you look at it and study it, you'll be able to understand on page 29 and 30, detailed list of our loans that we do have, the loan for City Hall, and then the loans regarding our water and sewer, wastewater treatment plant, and then the 2 water plants, and then the design plan for Lighthouse Estates water expansion. And on 34, you can see, and I asked Mr. Payne about this just earlier, it shows the percentages that the city pays of employees' salaries toward retirement. And you can see from one year to the next, those percentages raise. And I said, do they raise every year?
I'm afraid they've baked in there some inflationary numbers, because that's what the word on the street is. Inflation is a-coming.
Okay, and they're up there, and they're going to keep going up, because we will have to. We're looking at raising our salaries and hourly wage because of the $15 per hour requirement, and I think everybody's gonna be raised commensurate. So we're gonna have a retirement bill, but we're not the only ones.
Right.
And then you mentioned the over expenditure, and so thank you very much. I want to thank staff
Good
very
job.
much for the work you all have done. Courtney and Keisha, Miranda, she's not here, to get, and then all of staff, the entire staff, to do that inventory, which is going to have to be done, a total asset inventory, but to get these financial findings, audit findings whittled down, as Mr. Payne said. I thank you all very much, and for working with the DEO and the JLAC.
Good
Very
job.
good job. Okay.
Okay,
All
happy
right.
4th.
I beg your pardon?
Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay. Is everyone doing all right then? We'll move on to item 2. And this board will now convene as a quasi-judicial board for a quasi-judicial hearing under item 2 under new business. And that item is discussion of possible action concerning a special exception at 207 Northwest 5th Street to allow residential use in a C1 zoning. And this is requested by Matt Oswalt. And I'm thinking Matt Oswalt is here. I don't recognize him, so I think that's who
Great.
it is. Very good.
And if we could, maybe Keisha, if you wouldn't mind, just the order of things, that if you would please just advise the commission on the item, like what he's here for, that any requirements are met or not met, and then the applicant can come up and just give us a quick description of it, or be here available to answer any questions, and then you all can take action on it.
So I sent a link for the property appraisal so everybody could kind of pull it up on the map. It's the old Head Start building. He sent out his letters as required. I didn't get any feedback from any of the surrounding having any issues with it. As far as what he's going to do there, it has not been clear yet. So that's on him. But basically, same thing: a residential use in a C1. The P&Z unanimous. Goodness, I can't talk today.
You good, girl.
They approved it. There was a lot of questions that come up. What type of business? It still is a commercial business. He's just wanting the residential part with it. So I'll turn that over to him.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Oswald.
Good evening.
Hi,
Thanks for
Matt.
having me.
Thank you for coming. So do you have anything further that you'd like to?
Well, we
us?
went over it with the advisory panel a bit, and essentially I'm looking to live there while I also develop the property, and I'd like to develop it into a gym, a wellness center where we can do yoga and Tai Chi, working out, that sort of thing. Minimal equipment. We did talk about that. And yeah, that's pretty much start to develop it.
It's well needed also. right?
Yes, it is. I'm looking desperately for a place for yoga.
Oh, good. Well, come
Yes.
on over.
Okay. All right. So all of the certified letters that were required were sent out, and you received no reply. And
I had one lady come in, but then she was just confused about the letter, as which most people are. They're just kind of confused about the letter, and I just explained that he's wanting to have a business there, but also be able to live in it as well. Home occupation, basically.
yes, instead of downstairs and live upstairs,
Right.
it's probably.
Or just straight
yeah.
residential. It's going to be a mixture.
Yeah, one side business, one side residential, and believe it or not, many of us have been in that building and actually taken measurements and CAD drawings of it. We considered it one time for our city hall. We can at one point, but it was just too small for city hall, and this is where we are now. So we're familiar with the inside of it.
Well, the layout seems to work perfectly to me. If you know the south end has the offices, and it seems like that would lend itself to residential use, whereas the north end is more open and expansive, and it'd be perfect for having classes.
All right. Is anything else? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve or disapprove this
I'll
request.
motion to approve.
All right, we have that motion by Commissioner Brown. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? And this is the point where I say to all the applicants wanting to have commercial, wanting to have a residential spot in a commercial district, that you're going to hear lots of activities. It's a busy spot, and that's one of the most busiest spots in Carrabelle. You're going to have lots of noise, 24 hours a day, parades, fireworks, events, ambulances, clock tower chiming and playing music 24 hours a day. You're going to hear bands playing day and night, but we do have a commercial district noise ordinance, and the bands have a certain time they have to lower their decibels, and then a certain time they have to stop. Constant ongoing traffic, business at the bank, noises from fishing tournaments, and just all kinds of anything you could think of. So I want to warn you of that.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for the heads up.
All right.
But I'm still looking forward to it. It doesn't
Okay.
dampen my excitement.
All right, very good. All right, then, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries. And good luck, and we're looking forward to some yoga.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you soon.
All right, then, this quasi judicial hearing is now adjourned, and the commission will reconvene as the regular city commission in our regular meeting. And we have new business continued. And this is item 3, discussion and possible action regarding hiring a part-time dock and boat ramp host for weekend coverage at the Marine Street ramp area, Riverfront Park, Riverwalk Park, 4th Street boat ramp. Courtney and I have talked with Chief Schuman, and he doesn't foresee an available part-time officer to cover this at any time in the future or distant future, maybe even through next summer. And so the administrator and the chief and I agreed that the city does need some representation during the times of peak usage down there at our boat ramps. And so we're bringing an option to, of hiring a part-time employee to serve as, and Courtney had a good term, as an attendant/host at the ramps and the associated facilities. And of course, this would be funded with dock ramp user fees. Part-time employees don't receive benefits. And the duties would be similar to those with the previous dock master. And I have a list of those duties if someone wants me to read those to you or not, if we're familiar with that. You'd like me to read them to you, sir? He was not. No. Okay.
I guess the issue before the commission is whether or not you all want to, is it advertise for that position, to
Yes,
create
we
that
would.
position and advertise for it?
I believe, yes, we would advertise for that position. Now, it would be very similar to our weekend janitorial coverage. And we did advertise for that several times, and then after a little bit, the commission said, let's don't, we don't have to keep bringing it to the commission. You can advertise it on your own. We just turned it over to staff just until they were able to find someone that fit the position. So, and it would be, like contract work, similar to that. So, is there a discussion, or how does the commission feel about this proposal?
So what would be like the part-time hours that would be working? Is it just weekends? Or?
Yeah, weekends, peak usage, whenever we have the big fishing weekends. Now, of course, if it's raining, I think.
And that's the conversation Commissioner Melander and I had, was that you've got weekends that, even say 4th of July weekend, that it rains and you may not have any voters and you don't need anybody down there. So it really needs to be at their discretion or at
Would it
our
be at their,
discretion.
yes.
Mhm.
So you
So
would maybe
that
tell them you're gonna be
I need you
needed.
this weekend, or I mean,
Weather permitting.
weather permitting.
Well, and I don't think it needs to be at the employee's discretion. I think it needs to be at your discretion.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, not at the employees,
You need to
because,
let them know ahead of time.
yeah,
Right.
exactly, give them some heads up, correct, yeah.
And I guess that's was maybe my comment, and maybe that would be is the commission decides, hey, we want to create this position and, you know, hire someone for this position, because I know hiring is the commission's responsibility, and then management of the employees would be Courtney's responsibility. So, other than if you have specific instructions to her, but other than that, then it would be up to her to manage it, but you all to say,
I
hey,
don't think it's an all-day position. I think that most of your voters come in early in the morning and by early afternoon. You don't really get a whole lot after that, so I do think that there should be the hours, you know, if we do it from 6 a.m. to 1 or 2 or noon or whatever we come up with.
The police coverage was 6 a.m. to 2 or 7 to 3, you know, something like that. And that's when we really need it, is in the morning, and then in the afternoon when they come in and they're cleaning their fish, because the fish cleaning station monitoring of that is important. We have a scope of work that we developed for the volunteer dock master that pretty much covers everything. And it's, you know, just general overall, just patrolling of the boat ramps and the docks and the fishing piers and our decks and sidewalks and the roadways in that area and the right-of-ways, the restroom, keep a monitor on the restroom. They wouldn't necessarily clean the restroom, but they would notify Ms. Courtney or the chief, or if ramp fees aren't being paid, you know, they're not gonna approach anyone, but they would notify. They'd be a liaison between the administrator and the chief or the police department. Certainly report any misuse or vandalism and any maintenance requirements, that type thing.
Are we still collecting fees for that?
Yes, sir, we are. And they could also help educate the public on the proper use of the ramp and the fish cleaning station. So it needs to be weather permitting. Last year, we had an officer assigned special duty every weekend to that area, and some weekends it rained solid, and the officer was still there, hired, you know, part-time to do that. And I did mention that to the supervising chief, and but the person was hired to work weekends and not under weather permitting, so he felt like that person still needed to be scheduled and on duty even though it was pouring rain. So, but we need to take a different look at that, and I agree. And I'm sure that no one will want to sit out there in the rain. You know, it's a,
Well,
go ahead.
No, you're covering all the bases. I thought we already had a scope of work, as you put it, position description on duties and responsibilities. And as Courtney stated, she and I discussed it, and there's times that I saw our employee, whoever it may have been, no one particular one, sit there in the vehicle, run all day long, and nothing going on, not necessary. And that's the reason why I'm in favor on an as-needed basis and not just schedule every weekend. And then we'll use the scope of work or position description, whatever you want to call it, and trying to advertise and see if we can find someone that will be available to work on a requested, as requested.
Do we have a salary range that y'all?
Well, we know that it's September the 1st, I believe it's going to be $10 an hour required.
If we start at 10, would we have to raise it any more during September?
No, by next year.
By next year, we will.
Okay.
It goes up $1 a year, minimum wage, until 2026.
But I mean, if everyone doesn't have to get a raise, it's just, if you're not making that much, they have to?
Yeah, they have to,
legally?
but we're, yes, sir, Mr.
No, if you contracted them, would you have to go with a
No.
hourly? I mean, maybe you could say it's gonna be so much a day for the days that they work. You know, you could just say, we'll pay you $50 or whatever. I'm just throwing a number out there. each day that you have to, since it's periodic, I mean, how are you gonna?
And now the,
Watch the clock, I mean, how you gonna?
and that's an idea, the CRA maintenance contractor is a contracted basis, and they work on weather permitting. They're not out there on every day, weather is permitting, even the heat. But this person would have to work in the heat. We might open up the Coast Guard dock office with some air conditioning as well. So, hourly or contracted? Now, our janitorial service is contracted per day, right?
I like the contracted.
Mhm. But we would want to make sure that they are there during the peak hours.
But how are you gonna determine what you're gonna pay them if you contract it
Right, and if it's a rainy day
Per
and they
day.
don't work,
Well, then they don't get
per
paid for
day?
that day.
okay, so it would be,
Yeah, because
Contracted
there's
per
not
day.
gonna be anybody on staff to go, if it starts raining half a day, to say, oh, okay, you gotta take off now. You know, cause then that would be us working
right.
over the weekend, to say, okay,
Yeah.
start work, stop. Somebody's gonna be, so it's either gonna be you're gonna work tomorrow or you're not, you know, so it's gonna be kind of a day thing, you know, but then you might say, okay, well, it's gonna rain all weekend, so you're not gonna work.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but the way I view it is,
If you got a thunder shower that just comes up and it lasts 30 minutes, no big deal. They keep right on working. But if your forecast is for a 100% chance of rain tomorrow and there's not gonna be any boaters, then don't call and put them on.
Right.
That's the way I see it. Like I said, if you get a occasional thunder shower, let them work through it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it'll be clear in just a minute and there'll still be people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What did they say, wait 10 minutes,
Yeah.
the weather will change?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we do, as I just mentioned, have a covered air-conditioned
Right.
location,
Right.
where they could keep their lunch if they needed to.
So
You wanna go, you suggest by hour?
no, I was gonna suggest that if staff feels like they wanna contract it, and that's gonna be the easiest way, and that's gonna work best for you and the employee, I can go for that, cause you're gonna base it on the day. And the way, and what I just described would equal out the same thing. If you know it's gonna rain all day this coming weekend, you're not gonna call them and ask them to work. But that, yet and still, if they come to work on Saturday morning and it rains for 45 minutes, no big deal. They're still there. It'll be cleared up in a minute and they keep going. So, yeah.
So would they just
So-
check in on Friday afternoon?
Or you can call them, let them.
Would it
That's,
just
that's,
be
that's the way
Saturday
I
and
see it,
Sunday?
is Courtney would make a decision, and here's the way, and it's not gonna be an every weekend thing, the way I see it, is it's gonna be on holiday weekends, an opening fish season of some kind, and we all know when those come pretty much. Any activity or any occurrence that's gonna cause us to have an above normal usage at the boat ramp. Normal usage where there's, like when I went down this past Saturday, there was 4 vehicles in the parking lot. That was it, about 11 o'clock. There was hardly no usage. But then snapper season opened 2 weeks ago and they were parked all the way to 98 down there. So those are the kind of weekends that Courtney's gonna know that's coming up. Or 4th of July weekend, it's gonna be busy this weekend. She'd call and give them a heads up and say, I need you to work this weekend. That's the way I see it. Is that what you're talking about doing, Courtney? Yeah. That's the way that I see you doing it, and not them have to check in like every weekend and see if that's, if you want them to work or not. But if they wanna check in, that's fine too. It's gonna be a part-time employee, so it could go both ways.
Well, I just know how busy we get, and I don't want it to slip our minds, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
To think, oh, I gotta
Yeah.
call this every Friday to check, you
Yeah.
know, so that's why I was thinking,
Yeah.
you know.
Sure.
That could easily, especially if we go a couple weeks without using one.
Yeah.
You know, you don't think nothing about the
But
boat
they
ramps.
need to be responsible and check in themselves as well.
Right.
And if-
Exactly, I agree with that. Yeah.
Or they might come in and work a half day even.
Sure.
Yes, Greg?
So do they submit invoices then, or are they employees of the city?
They would submit an invoice.
Right, that's like contracted, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's probably the smartest thing to, then you don't have to pay the
Minimum.
minimum and all that other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And-
Right.
And in that case, Courtney, do you want, if you want it contracted, or are you asking us to set a figure per day for a certain number of
Well,
hours?
If they contracted, they bid it.
Excuse me?
If it's contracted, I believe they would bid it. Would they put a bid in per day? Dan, that's a Dan question.
If they contracted it, I mean, we would have to, if we bid it, then we have to describe how it would be contracted in the bid, right? So we would tell them, to give us a
But can you
rate per
contract it
hour.
and, I guess we can give them a price?
Yep.
But then how would we select who gets it?
We could do request for qualifications, and we would give them the criteria, and people would say, I think I'm qualified to do that, or I want to do that, and they would, then we do I call it a beauty contest among the applicants. Right, so we dictate price,
Who's the most
terms, all
qualified?
that, and then they say, hey, I think I'm qualified, I'd like to do that, and that's how that would go. So we create the position, all the specifics of it, and then we put it out.
That's
And
sounds good.
What would the qualifications be?
Well,
That's what I was sitting here
yeah,
pondering.
pretty much, you know, what these,
Yeah.
you know, you could, the scope of work has an objective
So,
in it.
but I'm guessing like somebody who was a retired police officer may be more qualified, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and we may want to do our own background check on the people.
Or a retired FWC
Right,
officer,
okay.
something
Yeah.
like that.
I mean,
or-
they're not gonna be any kind of authority, but that would
No.
just help for them to be
Yeah,
able to.
we don't want to, I mean, I can think of, then the lawyer gets going, right, is if we pick somebody that has a history of violence, say, and then they beat somebody down there because they get in an argument, that could be not good for us, right? I don't like to say it on tape, but that wouldn't be good. So we would want to do our background checks and whether, we'll decide whether someone's qualified or not. So that could be disqualifying.
I see two gentlemen in the audience that might qualify. Okay. But certainly, even someone who's been in the hospitality industry, we need, someone who can work with people and not get in arguments with them. There's no need to get in an argument at all when folks are out to have a good time fishing and boating.
Don't argue when
Well, they need to
No.
pay.
Yeah. So, and then on the volunteer dock master would bring in the envelopes with the monies, but I don't think we should do that. I mean, we had a good relationship with him regarding that, bringing in those envelopes. There was a good trust going on there.
We've been getting the money, I
Yeah.
don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, so we won't do that with this next go-round. So do we want to, then we're gonna advertise for request for qualifications for a dock attendant / host, or hostess. And then we would list some of these, well, there's the actual duties or the scope of work has an objective in it. So we can look at that and get the wording out of it and some of these duties and.
Do we
Then
need to
how-
decide on a pay?
I beg your pardon, and then the pay, that's what I'm about to say. Do we want to have, did we decide hourly or daily work, daily pay?
Well, I was sitting here running that through my head. If we ask them to come in to put in an 8-hour day on the days we wish for them to work, 8-hour day is gonna cover from, let's say, from
6 to
7
2.
a.m. to 2 p.m.
That's 7 hours.
6 to 2.
That's 8 hours, isn't it?
That's 7.
6 hours?
6 to 2.
6 to 2 is it?
6 to 2 or 7 to
Yeah.
3, something like that?
Yeah. I know that of course, I know that the others did too, but as an example, on opening day of snapper season, they were launching boats at 5 a.m. And that parking lot was full way before daylight. That doesn't mean they do that every weekend.
Well, and
For sure.
you're not really stopping them.
That's right.
You're just making sure they have it, and when they come back, they'll have
That's
a
right.
ticket there.
That's right.
Because you don't want to be interacting with them anyway.
It's
But
not
anyway,
a ticket, we just take
a
an
warning.
envelope and
Yeah.
put it on there. If we go by and they don't have, either they have an annual pass, a sticker in the window, or they have a thing hanging.
Right.
And if we don't see either one, we just stick an envelope on. And it's still kind of the honor system where it's not a fine, they're not
Yeah.
being ticketed, but when they come back and that envelope's there, they normally go pay it because
They
they
know
know somebody's
someone was
watching.
looking.
Watching, right.
Are we, and so that goes right back to my question, are we, the days that we want them to be there, need them to work, you gonna call it an 8-hour day? Okay,
I think so.
and then we'll determine whether it's 6 or 7 to whatever time?
And it's also not just, it's not parking, it is a launch fee, so
That's
even
correct.
though they're parked all the way up C-30,
That's correct.
I mean, this person should be checking all of them vehicles if
Okay.
they have a trailer attached to the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Even if they're parked in front of Harry's Bar and they've got a trailer, they launch down there at that
Right.
boat ramp.
And what some of them do, they launch and take their trailer back home or take their trailer. Snapper Day, the chief had to go over to the IGA.
Yes.
People had launched and took their trailer to the IGA parking lot.
right.
Their
Goodness.
truck trailer unit, there were 3 of them there.
That's right.
And they don't pay though, because they're out of sight, so there's no attendant and they're launching and taking their truck trailer unit, out of sight. So then that's one thing that an attendant could help with. If you have someone just there by
That's
the
kind of the-
box or,
That was kind of the point I was making with those early launches. Is some of them were taking their vehicles, like you said, to various locations away from our boat ramp and parking them. I saw them all over the place.
yeah. And, the attendant could just be even helpful, like
Yeah.
hand them, as they're backing in, hand them their envelope, So,
And there's only gonna be a few of those kind of weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right, then we want it to be an 8-hour day. And then have we decided on, and it's gonna be weather permitting or at staff's discretion. And then now the pay.
I think we're gonna have to go up to
They were
$10
gonna
an
bid on
hour anyway.
So just $80 a day.
Weren't you
Are we
gonna,
gonna have to do $10 an hour? It's gonna be required.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's
so it would
not
have to be-
required if it's contract work. It's not required. It's only required if there are employee.
Mhm.
If it's contract work, you just say, you $50 a day, then
Do
that's
whatever
different.
I don't know, we might not get any applicants for
Well,
8
no, I'm not
hours.
saying that, trust me.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna do it for that. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're not required.
Okay, we're not
to use that.
required to use, so we could go $15.
Yes.
Okay.
You're
And,
not getting anybody to do a good job.
And I will say, the officers, we were paying the officers their entry-level fees, so that was more than, it was much more than $10 an hour.
Right.
1697?
Mhm.
I think 10 seems fair. What do you
Okay,
guys
Mr.
think?
Gregg, approach the podium.
Should they have something to identify them as a, like
Yes.
either a T-shirt or something that says City of Carrabelle or a hat or something? I don't know.
think
Should
Not a
have-
badge, a badge and one bullet in the breast pocket.
I had thought about that, Greg. I think they should have a bright colored vest with some kind of identifying emblem on it.
Yeah, or ramp attendant, or
Yeah.
Carrabelle ramp attendant, or something like that.
Well, we can get something.
Uh-huh. Okay, so now the pay,
Pay.
the hard part. And there's a 4th Street boat ramp right across the 98 from your new home, sir. Okay. I would say it's got to be at least
I
worth
say
$10 an
80
hour. You're not gonna
a
get
day.
applicants. Now, we're not paying benefits, we're not paying, any FICA or anything like that. You might go $11 an hour.
Or an even 100.
Yeah.
$10 will be 80, so you can do it even $100 a day.
I forgot we don't have to pay all the extra.
So,
that is
Mr. Oswald
beneficial.
wanted to say something.
did you want to speak, sir?
Well, I do have some ideas. And
Okay,
it's
all right.
I would like
Okay,
to
go
share.
ahead. Thank you. I thought you were getting into some yoga.
First off, you mentioned background checks,
well,
and
I think the
you know,
camera fell
usually
over Royce.
if you have a legitimate business, there's insurance to carry as well as some sort of liability type insurance, and so that may want to be a factor in it as well. But also, I noticed with the launches, especially on busy days, the carnage down there of people throwing their fish in the water, even though they're not supposed to. And I know the people who clean out the garbage cans are complaining and having to just throw it out anyway, right there on the ramp. Anyway, I just thought that should be considered, like if there's some sort of fine or if they can limit the amount of people, because the other day there was at least 50 fish, just, you know, a lot of waste.
That's why we want to have an attendant, because it's against the law to throw that waste out like that. They need to take it with them or put it in our disposal. I don't know if the commission know it. I'm understanding that the FWC has a program where they'll provide a walk-in cooler. And I'm trying to get one at our fish cleaning station. And with our ramp fees, we could afford to pay the power bill on that cooler. So, but that's still in the works, so we won't get into deep water on that right now.
I'll
So,
make a suggestion on the salary.
okay.
I'm gonna suggest 13 an hour. It's $104 per 8-hour shift if my calculation in my mind's right. So,
I think that's fine.
would you try it and see? Try it and see.
And at that rate, you can ask for someone that's qualified.
So 104?
Well, yeah.
I think that's
We'll
what it
multiply
calculates out
13
to.
by 8, somebody, and tell us how much it is. And 104. Okay, very good.
That still works a little bit.
Is that a motion?
Okay, no, we need a motion now. So we've got all the logistics worked out.
I've got to advertise for requests for qualifications using the scope of work, weather permitting, and based on an 8-hour per day work week and $13 per hour.
Or do you want to say 104 a day since it's the contracted per day? Should it, I don't know
I
how you
think
have to word it, but-
probably 104,
Fine.
104 per
104.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just even money.
yeah. All right.
So if they
It's
work
not-
4 hours and then it starts pouring down rain, they just get paid the whole day then? I'm just wondering.
No, they go inside the building and wait 10 minutes and the weather will change.
Yeah. In an ideal situation.
That is what their contract says.
They wait till the sun comes out, then they go home.
Yeah. But they can, usually it doesn't rain all day. If it rains all day, we're gonna know it. We know it in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's what Keisha just read out the items that, the logistics of it. So do we have a motion then? Do we want to?
I will motion to approve advertising and all the stipulations we laid out.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, and is there any discussion? I just want to thank the commissioners for going along with this and giving it another go-round to see if we can get ourselves a good attendant out there. Okay, all in favor?
Are we gonna have a special meeting to hire this person, or we gonna wait till next month, or?
We can call a special meeting if we need to.
How
Let's-
long, do we just wanna advertise it one week?
We'll see how many applicants we get.
We could, what do you think, Courtney?
Because
1
this
week
could
or-
drag out till the end
Yeah.
of summer if we.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 1 week.
Okay, advertise.
Put it on Facebook and.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
advertise 1 week, put it on Facebook, try to, get it out there. And it's gonna be a week before you can even advertise it.
Right.
So, we'll see what the, response is. We might be able to have a little special meeting right before our, CRA meeting or something like that. Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right, thank you. Okay. Is everyone doing all right? Do we need to take a break here, recess? All right, we'll move on to old business. Item 1, discussion and possible action regarding development of a social media policy for all city employees. And this was requested by Commissioner Brown and has been tabled from last month.
And I spoke with Courtney this week a little bit more about what we talked about at the last meeting for all city employees except for the police department because they have their own requirements from federal and state requirements that they need to have in their certain wording. So they wouldn't be covered under this social media policy, but it would be for other departments like water, sewer, streets and roads, all of us.
All of the, and I did go back and read the police department policy, and that, it relates directly to the police
Right.
department, and all, reference to their badges, their uniforms, the confidential information that they have, and, the guidelines are specific to law enforcement officers, and all of that would not pertain to our
Exactly.
general employee staff. I did attend the Florida League of Cities had a webinar on social media and public records, and they wanted to, they stressed very much, and Mr. Hartman and I talked about it briefly, that the employees and the commission, we all have a right to free speech. Everyone has a right to free speech, and we're not wanting to take away that right. And so we have to be very careful in our social media policy about that. And these experienced government law attorneys that conducted the webinar for the League of Cities said that the city commission should be included in the city's social media policy. And that they're one of their main things, they said that employees, municipal employees and commissioners should assume that everything you put on Facebook could very likely become a public record. And especially for elected officials, because we're at an elevated level of scrutiny. So, you know, it's very important that we don't put our opinions out there before the vote is taken, especially. And one of the things they recommended, just the basic recommendation is that for staff, employees, commissioners, do not engage in conduct online that would be prohibited in the workplace.
Exactly.
So, you have a draft you presented. I thought it was very good. I made 2 small changes after I listened to that webinar. I did not write in there that the city commissioners would be included. At this point, I think you have a Facebook page, Commissioner Allen, but you don't, it's not real active, is it?
Not real active, once in a while.
I didn't know that we needed to specify, because I considered us employees, so I didn't know it needed to say employees and commission.
Well, let's ask Mr. Hartman.
And I actually have a similar view of it that Commissioner Brown has, is unless I mean, you all do get a salary from the city. You're definitely elected officials. So there is a practical and some legal difference. But if we pass a citywide policy and don't carve you out, I think it applies to commissioners.
Okay.
Yep.
And we do qualify for city insurance coverage.
Benefits and,
Yep. So.
And retirement.
Yep. So I would say, I'll take another look at it, but that's not material. I mean, meaning we can take action on it tonight and just, I think it applies. I mean, the social media policy applies. It's just a question of, sort of logistics because what I think about is the HR side of it. So if what we traditionally think of as an employee violates it, then I would sit down with Courtney, assuming it's not her, and we would talk about if there's discipline is appropriate and how we go about it. And then if it was a commissioner, that would be a little more interesting, because what I would always keep an eye towards would be obviously violation of sunshine, which that's sort of a separate issue. That's not the social media policy. So if a commissioner violated it, it would actually probably be upon yourselves to censor kind of one of your own for violation of it, because Courtney can't. You're all five of you are her boss, my boss, all that. So it would really be in consultation with me, I guess. But
Should.
yeah, that you guys would, whatever, reprimand,
commission-
censor, or whatever one of your
Or
own.
the
It'd be that would
commission
be.
on ethics.
Yes.
Commission on
Uh-huh.
ethics, that's what
Some-
I'm sitting
and-
here, I
and-
was wanting to say.
Well, when I say
but
commission on
wanted
ethics,
Dan to
this is the
finish.
problem.
That's
This-
the sunshine.
Yeah,
Well, that's the sunshine, so that's separate. The social media policy, meaning the thing that gets, and of course, all the cases that you see are mostly violations of people's First Amendment rights and all this. It would be, I'm trying to think of examples, but like harassment or threats or things like this that are not violations of the sunshine, but you're in a position of authority and you know, you violate our policy. So then it's, you have First Amendment rights too, as elected officials. So maybe there is. I mean, to me, that's the problem with this. I think we need a social media policy, but I think it is literally almost like a guideline or best practice type thing. It's not something you can say, you violated Article 2, and this is the penalty for it. It's really kind of a thing we got to deal with on a case-by-case basis. If we think someone violated it, it's who violated it, and what are the remedies. And that could be everything from ethics to sunshine to employee just discipline, reprimand, oral, written, all that.
well, social media has been, social media has been covered a couple of times when I sat through ethics training, and it was covered for commissioners, or for elected officials, I say commissioners, elected officials.
And the focus there is people use it to get around, not use it purposely, but it get used to get around sunshine. That's the big thing, because, I mean, you can certainly express your opinion, at a meeting, and you could express it online if it wasn't something that was coming before the commission. And, where does that cross over into
Well,
a violation that's actionable?
First of all, before I lose this thought, elected county and city officials cannot block anyone on Facebook.
Right.
Because then you're blocking their freedom of speech. to you.
Interesting.
Then, if you cannot, you are not, you could be brought up, somebody could complain to the Commission on Ethics. Say, you put on I would put on my Facebook page that we're gonna discuss social media tonight, and a policy for the city, what do you think about it? And then here come all these comments, and then I start writing my opinion before we've discussed it and voted on it. That is a violation of the sunshine
And that's
law.
sunshine, yep.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And I find it good for a bulletin board to let people know of activities, to let people know of these meetings and that type thing. But I work hard not to express my opinion. And even if you go and you like someone else's opinion, or you like something that's controversial, that can be a conflict with the sunshine law. And actually, everything that I put on Facebook, or Commissioner Brown, we're supposed to copy that and deliver that to the official records keeper and all the comments that came with it.
That's correct.
I thought we only had to do that if
If your
there was an
page
official
is
request.
official, if it says
It's-
Brenda LaPaz mayor,
Uh-huh.
I don't think you would deliver everything to me unless
So
somebody
they
asked
told
for
us
it.
at that last class I
You just
went
need
to,
to make
is
sure
that
it's backed up.
If there is an official request, you have to be prepared to give that information up.
Yeah, you've got to
Print
be
it
able
out
to,
or-
so you're
So
supposed to.
you better make sure if somebody screenshots something, it's there when
Don't
they come back
delete your
looking for
stuff,
it.
Save everything, etc.
So, careful on Facebook and Twitter and all those other places. So, you read the Prisoner Group's social media policy then, and you prefer this or you've incorporated some of their,
I incorporated some of
suggestions.
theirs and
Uh-huh.
just some other cities and tailored it to, because some cities only had a social media policy for like the city of Carrabelle page, and it didn't cover personal pages, but I included all of it. So
Okay. And the Florida League of Cities, I think I said it already, but they strongly recommend that the cities have a social media policy. So I sent Mr. Hartman then a couple of revisions or additions, actually, and it's at the very first sentence, where the very first sentence ends with the around the world, comma, and then I would say, and to interact with their family. And that is after I listened to the webinar. And then I would put down under number 2, they said employees, but I would say all users should assume, all social media users should assume that everything they post on social media could very likely be a public record. And then otherwise, I like the policy myself. I feel like I could abide by it. I conduct myself on Facebook like I do
Right.
at City Hall and in city
Yeah,
meetings.
I haven't seen anything any of us have done on, I mean, you know, we're just following the rules, but it's good to have just in case.
Frank Mathis is calling again.
He's got some opinions.
Is he really?
Yeah. Should I answer?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Ask him what he thinks.
Good evening, Frank. We're in the city commission meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, darling.
Okay. Okay, he says he's at home.
Good.
And we're all glad for you. Applaud
We
for
miss you,
Frank.
Mr. Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Did you hear that? Okay, we're so glad you're home. Okay, all right, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for calling. All right, bye-bye. He says he loves everybody, and he said thank
He's
you
at
for your
home.
well wishes.
Make a note of that in the
Okay.
record.
They must have gave him
That
the
can
good
change.
stuff.
Okie dokie.
All right.
All right. Back to the social media policy. So I approve of it. Do we, is there any further discussion? Do we have a motion on this item?
Can I motion a
Yes, you can. It's
Okay,
your
I
item.
motion we approve it. Is that what I'm
And,
motioning?
and
With the
you can-
revision.
With
do-
the revision?
Okay,
Adopt?
yep.
Motion to adopt with the revision.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that revision, well, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and that motion is by Commissioner Brown, second by Commissioner Allen. And I was gonna ask, the revisions are okay then with you, Commissioner Brown?
They sound
Okay.
great.
All right, is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. Okay, very good. Thank you for that discussion, and we'll continue to conduct ourselves.
Do we have any public?
Yeah, Facebook.
We got going.
Okay, so we have time for public comment now. Do we have someone who
I
wants
have
to?
Miss Tamara Allen.
Okay, all right, very good.
Boy, the pressure is on. I know you all want to go home.
Well, it's just 7:30, it's
I
not
know.
9:30, so.
I'm here tonight as the director of the Carrabelle History Museum to let you all know that today we opened a highlight of our new exhibit on celebrating Carrabelle High School and all the schools in Carrabelle. And it's going to be up, a focus on it all during this month on Facebook and different things with photographs from the yearbooks and all that stuff. And I wanted to particularly to invite everybody that ever went to a school in Carrabelle to come to the reception on Saturday, July 31st. That's from 2 to 4. And these little posters are going up around town just inviting people and reminding them to come open. But it's the grand opening celebration of our Remembering Carrabelle High School. And it is a permanent exhibit that we'll have and continue to add to as we get more. Somebody called today and wanted to donate their letter sweater, so we And it wasn't a real old one, so that was nice, because most of the ones we have donated were from the Mullets and the Green Devils, but this one was a Panther jacket, so that'll make a nice completion of that, all three mascots. So, but everybody's invited to the reception from 2 to 4 on the 31st at the Carrabelle History Museum.
Okay, well, we
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. And before the meeting started, Ms. Tamara gave me a chart on the number of visitors they had this past June, and they had 505 visitors at the History Museum, which is great. And then these hours on the back, what is that?
Those are the volunteer hours.
Okay, wonderful. In June, you had 182, and in May, 234, and 234 in April. That's wonderful.
And we've
Thank
got-
the volunteers.
And volunteer hours are like money in the bank. You
Yes,
can-
they are.
You can use it for matching grants and all kinds of things, and we're really thrilled.
All right,
to have
thank you
that.
for keeping these records.
I have a question/suggestion.
Yes.
I know I've talked to you about the time capsule we buried years ago. Is there any way we could maybe incorporate that into your,
The time
event?
capsule has been turned over to the school. It's not gonna be opened until 2040.
What?
It was 50-year time capsule. It was in 1992. So 2042, the school has it on their property now. They come dug
Great.
it up.
I'm so glad.
Yes.
50 years?
50 years.
Wow.
So then they can turn it over.
Well, we have the bell. If any of you haven't gone by the museum lately, we got the original school bell from the wooden schoolhouse, first one here, and it's now, thanks to the incredible efforts of the city roads, streets and roads guys, it's on a pole in front of the museum, and we're really excited to have it. We're attempting to get a rope to pull it with. The gadget that we have to pull it with is not really working out too good. So we're going to get just an old-fashioned rope to pull the bell. So you can come down and ring the bell sometime. They used to use it on foggy nights when fishermen couldn't find the river. And so they put a particular beat on it, and those guys could kind of find their way home from that, which is fascinating story about that.
All right, well, we thank you very much.
Thank you.
And is there any other public comment this evening?
I have one more thing I needed to.
Okay.
I forgot on my report. Late Tuesday afternoon, I got the email Wednesday morning, I've been out of class. The property appraiser sent the DR 420s, which have to be completed by August 4th for a preliminary millage rate. So, which it's just a preliminary. I didn't know if anybody had any suggestions, if we wanted to try put the rollback, or we want to keep the 9 and then wait till our workshops to adjust the millage rate.
I think I would like to wait till the workshop to.
Okay. Because if you put it at the rollback, then you can't, and you need the 9, you can't go forward. You would have to re-advertise. You can always roll back, you just can't go up. So,
Okay, all right, and then we need to get busy thinking about the budgets and scheduling our workshops and such. Okay, so does everybody agree just to leave it at the 9 now until we have our workshops or workshop to decide, to take a look at our budget and see exactly what we're gonna need or not? Okay, all right. Is that okay then, Ms. Keisha?
yes, that was my suggestion, just because, like I said, you can always go back down. I know property values did go up a little bit, but we've got also some other stuff we have to include in our budget. So without, taking the deadline for the trim notice is always really quick and short. They, I don't even get 30 days, so it's hard to schedule meetings with that,
Yes.
in between. So I usually just go with what we had last year, and then we can go back if we need to.
Okay, very good. All right, any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, it was a good meeting. I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second? That's by Commissioner Melander. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Commissioner Brown seconds that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. All right, thank you all, and have a nice evening. Happy 4th of July.